On the morning of May 10, 1940, the skies over northeastern France erupted with the roar of engines as German aircraft surged across the border. Amid the chaos, a squadron of French fighters from GC-1/6, based at Toulcourt-de-Metz, scrambled to intercept. These were Morane-Saulnier M.S.406 fighters, sleek monoplanes tasked with defending French airspace. Pilots like Lieutenant Edmond Morane-Lemesle pushed their machines to the limit, engaging enemy formations in a desperate bid to stem the tide. By noon, Morane-Lemesle had claimed 2 confirmed victories, but the MS-406, France's most numerous fighter, faced an uphill battle against faster, more heavily armed opponents. This was the crucible in which the Morane-Saulnier MS-406 would be tested, a machine born of necessity and ambition, yet destined to fight in the shadow of its rivals. By the mid-1930s, Europe stood on the brink of conflict. France, still recovering from the devastation of the First World War, faced a resurgent Germany, rearming at an alarming pace. The French Air Force, known as the Armée de l'Air, relied on a patchwork of aging biplanes like the de Watine D371 and Loire 46, ill-suited for modern aerial warfare. The strategic problem was clear. France needed a new generation of fighters capable of countering advanced German designs like the Messerschmitt Beef 109. In 1934, the Service Technique de l'Aéronautique issued the C-1 specification, calling for a single-seat interceptor with a monoplane design, retractable undercarriage, and a top speed exceeding 400 kilometers per hour. This was a tall order for an Air Force transitioning from traditional biplane doctrines to the uncharted territory of modern monoplane fighters. The Morane-Saulnier Company, with a storied history dating back to 1911, stepped forward to meet the challenge, aiming to deliver a machine that could restore French aerial parity. The development of the MS-406 began with its predecessor, the MS-405, a prototype designed under the leadership of Morane-Saulnier's engineer-in-chief, Paul-René Gauthier. On August 8, 1935, the MS-405 took to the skies for its maiden flight at Villers-Cotterêts, powered by a Hispano-Suiza 12Y engine delivering 860 horsepower. This aircraft was a radical departure for Morane-Saulnier, which had primarily focused on civil designs and parasol wing fighters like the MS-230 during the interwar years. The MS-405 featured a low-wing monoplane configuration, an enclosed cockpit, and a retractable undercarriage, firsts for the company. Its construction was a hybrid of traditional and innovative techniques, using a fuselage frame of duralumin tubing covered with Plymax, a composite material combining a thin sheet of duralumin bonded to plywood. The wings, also clad in Plymax, incorporated steel spars and tubes, while the tail surfaces retained fabric-covered wooden structures. The prototype's performance was promising, achieving a top speed of 480 kilometers per hour during trials in 1936, but it required refinement to meet the stringent demands of military service. The transition from the MS-405 to the MS-406 involved significant upgrades. By 1937, Morane-Saulnier adopted the Hispano-Suiza 12Y31 engine, a liquid-cooled V12 producing 860 horsepower at 4,000 meters. This engine, paired with a Chauvière 3-bladed 2-pitch propeller, offered improved reliability and performance. The radiator, a critical component, was retractable to reduce drag during high-speed flight, though it posed challenges in hot climates. The airframe was lightened, with revised wings reducing weight while maintaining structural integrity. Armament was a focal point. The MS-406 mounted one 20mm Hispano-Suiza HS-404 cannon firing through the propeller hub supplemented by two 7.5mm Mac 1934 machine guns in the wings, each with 300 rounds. This configuration, while adequate for the late 1930s, would soon prove underpowered against more heavily armed adversaries. The first M.S.406 prototype, derived from the fourth M.S.405 airframe, flew on May 20, 1938 at Villacoublard, marking the culmination of 3 years of iterative design. Production was a monumental task. In March 1938, the Armée de l'Air placed an order for 1,000 airframes, overwhelming Morane-Saulnier's factory in Puteaux. To meet demand, a second production line was established at the nationalized SNCAO factories in Saint-Nazaire. The first production MS-406 flew on January 29, 1939, and deliveries began in earnest. By April 1939, production reached 6 aircraft per day, escalating to 11 per day by September 3, 1939, when war broke out. Engine shortages, particularly of the Hispano-Suiza 12Y31, hampered deliveries, but by March 1940, the original order was fulfilled, with an additional 77 aircraft built for export to Finland and Turkey. The MS-406's entry into service in early 1939 marked the Armée de l'Air's first modern fighter, a symbol of France's determination to bolster its defenses. The MS-406 was a compact fighter, measuring 8.17 meters in length with a wingspan of 10.61 meters. Its wing area of 17.1 square meters contributed to its maneuverability, though the small wing limited its ability to carry external loads. The Hispano-Suiza 12Y31 engine drove the aircraft to a maximum speed of 486 kilometers per hour at 5,000 meters, with a service ceiling of 9,800 meters and a range of 1,000 kilometers. The aircraft's empty weight was 1,896 kilograms, rising to 2,470 kilograms when fully loaded. Its climb rate was 2,560 feet per minute, adequate but inferior to the Messerschmitt Bf-109E's 3,280 feet per minute. The armament, centered on the 20mm cannon with 60 rounds, was effective against early war aircraft but struggled against armored bombers. The wing-mounted machine guns, prone to freezing at high altitudes due to unheated bays, further limited its firepower. The cockpit, while enclosed, lacked armor plating or self-sealing fuel tanks, leaving pilots vulnerable. The crew consisted of a single pilot, operating a suite of basic instruments, including radio, a novelty for French fighters of the era. A unique feature was the retractable radiator, which improved aerodynamics but required careful management to prevent engine overheating. The MS-406's combat history began during the Phoney War, the period from September 1939 to May 9, 1940, when hostilities were limited. Stationed with 4 escadres de chasse, each comprising 3 groups of 25 aircraft, the MS-406 equipped units like GC-1/2 at Beauvais and GC-2/7 at Vitry-le-François. Pilots reported the aircraft's agility with a tight turning radius that allowed it to evade more powerful opponents. On November 6, 1939, Sergeant Henri Raffin of GC-2/6, flying from Wes-Touissy, downed a German reconnaissance aircraft near Metz, one of the type's first confirmed kills. By May 10, 1940, 229 MS-406s were operational, forming the backbone of French fighter forces. The German invasion of France, launched that day, exposed the aircraft's limitations. Facing the Messerschmitt Bf-109E, which boasted a top speed of 570 kilometers per hour and 4 machine guns, the MS-406 struggled. During the Battle of France from May 10th to June 25th, 1940, approximately 400 MS-406s were lost, 150 to enemy fighters in ground fire, 100 destroyed on the ground during air raids, and the remainder deliberately sabotaged by French forces to prevent capture. Despite these losses, French pilots achieved 191 confirmed victories and 83 probables, with units like GC-1/6 at Toul claiming 36 kills by June. Pilots' experiences underscore the aircraft's strengths and weaknesses. Captain Georges Ribet of GC-3/2, based at Cambrai, praised the MS-406's maneuverability, noting its ability to outturn German fighters in dogfights. However, he lamented the cannon's tendency to jam after short bursts, leaving pilots reliant on the less effective machine guns. On May 15, 1940, Ribet engaged a formation of German bombers over Sedan, downing one but sustaining damage from escorting fighters, forcing a crash landing. The lack of armor was a recurring complaint. Lieutenant Pierre Villet of GC-2/7, shot down near Reims on May 18th, survived, but noted the aircraft's vulnerability to even small caliber fire. By the armistice of June 22, 1940, the MS-406's frontline role in France diminished, with surviving aircraft relegated to Vichy French forces or captured by German units. The MS-406 found a second life in foreign service, most notably in Finland. On February 4, 1940, 30 MS-406s arrived at Turku, allocated to Lentalevu 28 under Major Jorma Jussi, designated MS-301 to MS-330. These aircraft saw action during the Winter War against the Soviet Union. From February to March 13, 1940, they flew 259 sorties, downing 16 Soviet aircraft for the loss of one MS-406. Finnish pilots operating in sub-zero conditions appreciated the aircraft's cold weather performance, as the retractable radiator functioned reliably at low temperatures. During the continuation war from June 1941 to September 1944, Lentalevu 28, reinforced with additional MS-406s and MS-410 variants from German stocks, scored 118 victories, losing 15 aircraft. Warrant Officer Urho Lehtavara, Finland's top MS-406 ace, achieved 15 of his 44.5 kills in the type, earning the nickname Murjani for the aircraft's distinctive profile. Finnish engineers led by Arne Lakoma modernized the aircraft, fitting captured Soviet Klimov M105P engines to create the Morco Morane, first flown on February 4, 1943. This variant reached speeds of 510 kilometers per hour, but only 3 were completed before the war's end. In Vichy French service, the MS-406 saw action in colonial theaters. On May 14, 1941, 20 aircraft of GC-1/7, based at Royak in Syria, engaged British forces during the Syria-Lebanon campaign. 3 additional MS-406s arrived as reinforcements on July 7th, but the unit withdrew to Greece after the armistice of July 12th. In Madagascar, on May 7, 1942, Captain Jean Asselin of Escadrille 565 was killed when his MS-406 serial 995 was shot down by British fighters during Operation Ironclad. The aircraft also served in French Indochina, facing Japanese and Thai forces in late 1940. Switzerland, under the designation D3800, license-built the MS-406, with 2 prototype MS-406H aircraft delivered in September 1938 and April 1939. Swiss D3800s downed several Allied and Axis aircraft, violating their airspace in 1944 and 1945. The independent state of Croatia received captured MS-406s in late 1943, using them until the war's end. Total production of the MS-406 reached 1,176 aircraft, with 1,077 delivered to the Armée de l'Air and 99 exported or license-built. After the war, the type was rapidly phased out, rendered obsolete by jet aircraft and advanced piston-engine fighters like the Dewoitine D520. In Finland, the MS-406 served as an advanced trainer until 1952, when the last examples were scrapped. No complete MS-406 survives in museums, though components, including a fuselage section at the Finnish Air Force Museum in Tikkakoski, preserve its legacy. Partial replicas, such as one displayed at Le Bourget in Paris, offer glimpses of its design. The MS-406 was succeeded in French service by the Dewoitine D520, which arrived too late to alter the outcome of the Battle of France. In military history, the MS-406 occupies a poignant niche. A symbol of France's pre-war ambition, it fought valiantly despite its limitations, bridging the gap between obsolete biplanes and the modern fighters that followed. The Morane-Saulnier MS-406, born from the urgency of a looming war, stood as France's first modern fighter, its legacy defined by courage in the face of overwhelming odds.